Okay, so you've now finished chapter 3. So you've got all your basic skills for creating reports. We're going to have a go at a question together, so you can practice your skills and start to be a little bit more adaptable with what you do. So here's the question, and we're using the Bouncy Castle database. Please, would you download a new version of the database to do this report? The one on study directory has now got a few more things, so if you could download that one. Now it says we're going to create a report which shows the total number of customers who have ever hired castles. So, okay, we need to do a count of how many customers. We need to know how many times each type of castle has been hired. That's important. That will help us know what to group our report by. And the average number of days each castle type has been hired for. Okay, so we need to know the customers. We need to know the times they've been hired, and we need to know the days that they've been hired for so far. Because we've got a few calculations in there, we can start off by doing a query and then move into the report. So I've started the query off. I'll show you what I've done so far. So I've brought down the castle code, the type of castle. That's important because that's what the majority of the report is about, the castle type. Customer number, so we will have to count that because we need to know how many customers and the days that they've hired it for. So we go back, total number of customers who have hired castles. So we're going to go in and do a count on the customer number. You know how to bring down the totals row, and we're going to do a count on the customer number. Okay, so it's now doing a count instead of showing us the customer number, it's now counting the customer number. So I'm just going to save that. I've given it a name, query for report, basically. Close that. As long as you give it a descriptive name, that's okay. We're now going to go ahead and use the report wizard to create that report. We need to make sure we've selected the right query for report, there it is. And we're going to be using all these fields to start with, so I can pop them all over. I don't want it grouped by the code, I actually want it grouped by the castle type. If we group it by castle type, when we come to do the number of times it's been hired and the average number of days, it makes it possible. If you don't group it, this is not possible to do easily. So castle type is the grouping. I'm not going to put any sorting on there, and I'll leave it as portrait. It's not a very big report, and I'm going to give it a little name, RPT. Customer count. Leave it at that for now. Okay, so we can see it's done exactly what we wanted, which is we wanted it grouped by the different types of castles, which is good. So the first thing I think we're going to do is we're going to do a total at the bottom, which is this bit here, the total number of customers who've ever hired castles. So we're going to use that customer count field. So I need to be in design view for this because I'm going to do a calculation, and I'm going to do a calculation which totals up the whole of the count of customer number field, and I'm going to do it in the report footer. You've learned how to do that. We're going to use a text box and quickly draw it. This can all be tidied up later on. So if I give it a label, number of customers who have hired castles. I'm not too worried about the way it looks at the moment. I'll fix that up later on. So now I'm going to put the actual calculation in, and it goes in the control box side. So we're going to start with equals, and then we're going to have a count in there. Open a normal bracket, then we open a square bracket, and we want to make sure we've got this field name coming in. So that's count of customer number, close your square, and then close the normal bracket. And then we'll have a quick look at that. And it's saying that we've got 21 customers who've hired castles in the past. So that's kind of the first bit done. I'm not going to worry too much about how it looks. I want to move on to the next bit. The next bit is working out the number of times each castle has been hired and the average number of days each one has been hired for. So we need to have a look at where we're going to put this, because we've got lots of different sections. So if I just go into one of the other views. But the reason we grouped it is because we want this information to be relating to each of those types of castles. So we're going to make sure we put it in the right section. And the section we're going to put it in is called Castle Type Header. So we're going to drag that down. And then any calculations that we do in this section will only relate to each castle type. So I'm going to start off by drawing a text box. Again, it doesn't matter where it goes at the moment. We will tidy up and make it look beautiful later. So the first thing we're doing is this one, which is the number of times each castle has been hired. A long-winded label, but I'll come up with something better later on. Let's drag that down and move it over a little bit. So we've got a label. Again, it's a bit scruffy, but we will tidy it up later on. And now we're going to put the actual calculation in. So we need a count, because we need to work out how many times it's been hired. And it would be sensible to count the Bouncy Castle code, how many times it appears. So if we do a quick count equals count, open a normal bracket, open a square bracket, and you know that the square bracket will contain the name of the field that we are counting. So that's Bouncy Castle code. Close the square, close the normal. Let's have a look at that. I've typed it in wrong. Yeah. So if you ever get one of these up, it means you haven't typed the file name in right. That's good that I made that mistake, because you'll know what to do. So I'm going to cancel that. And if I have a look, I haven't spelt bouncy right. There we go. Let's try that now. Okay. So now I've got the number of times this castle type has been hired, and it says 5 for boxing and then 2. And if you see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it has been hired at 5 times. So the counting has counted all those codes for each of my types of castle. So that one's only been hired once, that one's been hired 3 times. So it's all dependent on you getting it in that right section. So let's do the other part of this report, which was the average number of days each castle type has been hired for. So we're going to again put it into the section which is the castle type. So bringing down a text box, I'm just going to pop it over here. It's very scruffy. It's going to take me a minute to tidy this up. Never mind. There we go. So this one is the average amount of days. So give it a label. And then we're going to do the function to calculate an average, which is AVG, normal bracket followed by the square bracket. Now this time I'm going to use the field called days required. So in there I just write in that field name exactly as it's been shown, close square, close the normal, and then let's go and have a little look. Okay, so here are the days that it's been required in the past. 4 looks like it's worked out just about right. Yep, 5.5. So it's calculated the average for each of those, and it's gone in there. It's a bit of a long number, but that's looking like it's correct. So we've now got all the data that we need for the report. We've got number of times it's been hired, the average number of days, and right at the bottom we've got, you can't see it's on the next page, oh there it is, the number of people who've actually hired the castle. I'm just going to save it as it is. Now we've got a load of stuff on the report which we don't need. This part of the question says it only wants the castle types displayed, number of times it's been hired, the average, and the total number of customers. So there's a lot of stuff I can now get rid of. So I don't need these labels. I don't need that field there because I've got all the calculations now doing the work. I don't need the number of days because I've worked out the average, so I can delete that. And I don't need the castle number because I've done the count on that. So now I'm showing more like what it's asked me to show. Those three things are now showing. Let me just check at the bottom. There we go, number of, okay. So now it's a matter of a little bit of a tidy up. Give it a decent name. So I'm going to call it not a great name, but we'll find a better one. And I can start to make it look a little bit neater and tidier. Just going to go into design view for a second. So I've got a nice label here, which I'd want to be in bigger font. So I can just make my font a little bit bigger. It's probably too big, but never mind. I can go in there and you can start to lay it out so it's going to fit to one page. It's important in the exam that your report does fit to a page. So let's have a quick look at that. So if we do print preview, then it shows you if it's fitting on a page or not. And it says at the moment it's not, it's fitting on 2 pages because it's gone too wide. So I need to just fix that. So design view is the best place to do this in. And let's move that out of the way. It's because it's gone all stretched out because I've been doing calculations. So I drag that back over to about there. Quick look at print preview now. Still sitting on 2 pages. Oh, that's annoying. Let's go back and do that. It's a little bit fiddly, I've got to be honest, but it's worth spending a couple of minutes fixing it up. Every mark is important in this exam, and if you can gain a couple of marks of fitting it onto a page, let's do that. Now it fits onto 1 page. Beautiful. Still really scruffy, so I'd want to tidy it up a little bit. I've lost bits off there. So you'd spend 5 minutes tidying it up. Now, when it comes to doing screenshots, it will ask you to do a screenshot of your report in design view. At the moment, I would have to widen this one up to show everything. So then my screenshot is showing everything that I've done. It shows all my grouping. So I would do a screenshot in design view of this, but it has to, all your fields need to be widened up. Otherwise they won't see the calculations you've done. So your first screenshot will be in design view, get it looking like this so you can see all the calculations. Once you've done that screenshot, then you can start making the report look neat and tidy. I don't know what I just did there. I don't think that was right. There we go. I've just screwed that up. Under pressure now, you guys are watching. Oh, I see what I've done. God, this is why I hate doing reports, because they are so tricky. Let's get that back over there. So now you've done your screenshot in design view. and then you need to make it look nicer for the other views. Bear with me a moment. Okay, so I'm in layout view. I'm going to tidy up a little bit. Perhaps drag that over that way a bit. Perhaps make that a bit wider. Try and get this in line with that one. That looks all right. That one's way too wide. Let's bring that in. Okay, so then we've got our reports that we can then do a screenshot of as well. So the way you do a report is you do a screenshot of design view, which I just showed you, and then you do print preview. So we're going to go into a print preview. Check it looks lovely. It fits to one page of one, and then you're going to save it as a PDF. So this is where you file, save as, save object as PDF. And then in the paper, it will give you a very clear idea of what it needs to be called. It's going to be something like activity 3, then your number, and then your surname, and then your initial. So something like that. And you'd need to submit that PDF. And there it is. And it then proves that what you've done looks quite nice and it fits to a page. So you submit the PDF. Also, for your report, you'd need to make sure that you show them the query that you designed for this. So you'd do a screenshot of the query in design view and the query in datasheet view, just as evidence that you created a report, a query as well. That's it. Good luck.